Whether you love Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man or not, you can't deny the actor's success in the role and what that role has delivered to Spider-Man fans that have been waiting for the character to interact with the MCU. Now let's talk about the recent news about how Sony was really unsure about Marvel's decisions, but also they didn't really have a choice if they wanted it to succeed. So after Andrew Garfield turned his back on the Spider-Man role and Sony found themselves in that very interesting position where fans were not happy with anything they've done with Spider-Man. I mean, yes, the Amazing Spider-Man franchise has its fans. I certainly like many aspects of both of those movies, and there's more aspects of them that I hate than I like, and ultimately it means that I'm not the biggest fan of those, but I wanted to see Spider-Man, like many people, enter the MCU. And you can't deny that the success that Spider-Man has had over the last decade is because of the MCU, because that's what's officially brought the character to finally pass $1 billion and give Sony their biggest film of all time. It's the MCU connection. And recently, speaking with GQ magazine, former MCU directors Joe and Anthony Russo, who have a upcoming project, Cherry, or it might actually be out. I'm not sure how this works anymore. I'm only paying attention to the comic book things now. But either way, though, Cherry stars Tom Holland. So they wanted to talk a little bit about the casting process, because we know that Tom Holland got brought in multiple times, and the Marvel Studios side of everything loved Tom Holland's portrayal. They brought in multiple actors, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans. He was interacting with them. They automatically knew that this is Spider-Man for the MCU. This is the one we want. They were excited. And then they meet with Sony, and Sony's like, well, okay, let us think about that. We don't really know about this. We're not really sure about it. And they say that this is mainly due to the fact that the Russo brothers had just one movie, more or less, under their belt that was a big hit. That was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So they were nervous letting these guys cast the future of Spider-Man, because naturally they're afraid because it's a character they own. And we know for a fact that Sony had their own stars that they were looking at. For example, Sony works with AMC. That's their responsibility. And as we learned some time ago, Sony was looking to their own in-house development and actors they've worked with. And AMC's The Walking Dead, they were looking at the kid who plays, what's his name now? Whatever, the actor's name was Chandler Riggs. We know that they wanted to screen test him, but Marvel was like, no, we don't really, that's not the direction we want to go in, because they were looking to other actors. We know that Asa Butterfield was somebody they were both looking at, but Asa Butterfield got a little too happy and started teasing it, and Sony was like, well, why not? And Marvel Studios said no. So ultimately, you see how this played out, and it's one of these things where Sony very reluctantly agreed on it, but you can't argue that it didn't work out for them, because look at it, right? Just look at the box office take. I mean, you can argue to the quality, maybe you don't like those films, but you can't argue to the reception from other people and box office. Carl, the kid's name was Carl, because the second season where I quit watching, she just ran around the house, was like, Carl, where are you, Carl? Carl!